Good morning, you're watching On Edge. Today is Tuesday, Parshas Tazria Mitzvah Chuv Zayin Nisan Tuvshim Paivuv On Edge, and it's April 14th, 2026. My name is Gershy Schwarcz and I'm your host, On Edge.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.
Hayom Shnaim Usa Yom Shaim Shavia Echad V'Chamishu Yumim Lu Oimer. Just in case you haven't counted, here's your chance. Our mission is regime change, says David Barnea, the Mossad chief. Today on Edge, as follows. The U.S. naval blockade bleeds Iran of $400 million a day, while Israel's intelligence chief, the Mossad chief, David Barnea, declares the fight won't end until the Iranian government is entirely, completely replaced. Plus, historic resignations here in America shake up the 2026 midterm elections. A pilot of a passenger flight flew extremely low, causing houses in his village to shake. Wait until the end for more. But first, let's not forget, if you want to arrive somewhere, you want it to happen express. This is why you need to call Arrive Express when you're in the upstate region of New York, 845-622-1111. Most reliable taxi service. You're flying into America, coming into LaGuardia, or you're coming into Newark, or you're coming into JFK. In the surrounding areas, you call Arrive Express to pick you up, 845-622-1111. You can call them Monroe Fleet, 845-254-1111. Don't forget to download the app, ArriveMunsey.com. That's ArriveMunsey.com. They have deliveries, packages, people picking up, tracking, all that. Arrive Express. Okay, the United States has officially launched a naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz against Iran. Now, for those of you who forgot what the Strait of Hormuz is, it's the narrow and critical waterway for global trade. Shipping, ships go back and forth. Very small. Well, it's big, obviously. Well, it's called a small waterway. 20% of the world's important oil goes through that strait, what I call it. Now, these things, this blockade cuts off all shipping in and out of the country's Gulf ports. By the order of the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, who has warned that Iranian ships will be eliminated as the operation gets underway if they do violate this. Now, the U.S. Central Command started the operation Monday morning, yesterday, 10 a.m., positioning the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln south of Iran in the Gulf of Oman. American forces have already blocked a tanker trying to sail under fake flags. President Trump stated that today, despite major threats from Iran, U.S. ships were able to safely move into the Strait of Hormuz into place, and the Iranians did nothing to stop them. Oil prices around the world are rising above $100 a barrel. Inside Iran, the United States blockade is costing this government, the Iranian government, $400 million, like I started today, the news segment, every single day. Because of that, they cannot sell their oil. Now, because they cannot sell their oil, the country is completely out of storage space. And they will be forced to shut down its oil wells within 2 weeks. Washington is enforcing the blockade alone. NATO partners and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer have refused to participate in the Gulf operation. And China is now calling the new blockade dangerous. Saudi Arabia Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman said, yes, they're attacking us. Iran is doing bad things, but it's not our war, so we're not going to do anything, unless we have to defend ourselves or take measures to defend ourselves in offense, basically. In other words, this military move comes after peace talks collapsed in Pakistan. Vice President J.D. Vance, like I said, walked out of the meetings, Motzei Shabbos, over a major disagreement on Iran's nuclear program. Washington demanded a 20-year halt on all nuclear enrichment, which is the process used to make fuel for nuclear weapons, just in case you don't know what nuclear enrichment is. Iran countered with an offer of just 5 years. During this standoff, Russia is now offering to take Iran's uranium, the material made to enrich, basically to make nuclear bombs, out of the Iranian country. Mediators from Egypt, Turkey, and Pakistan are rushing now to secure an extension to the ceasefire before the current ceasefire expires on April 21st. Recent polls show 61% of Israeli citizens oppose any ceasefire with Iran. Meanwhile, the head of Israel's intelligence agency, Mossad, is making it very clear that their fight is not over. Speaking today, Mossad chief David Barnea stated that their ultimate goal has always been to replace the Iranian government entirely. Speaking of replacement, Barnea is due to step down in June and being replaced by somebody called Mr. Goffman. We reported it yesterday here on Edge, if you kept up. Barnea confirmed that this mission for the regime change is still ongoing. He emphasizes that the Mossad's operations against the Iranian government will continue long after the military strikes end, despite any temporary ceasefire agreements. The situation overseas is creating a major political clash here at home. President Trump recently posted a strong warning to Iran, like I said, to wipe a civilization, right? Promising harsh consequences as well. Now, in response, Pope Leo, like I said yesterday, I reported it here, called the president's threat against Iran truly unacceptable. President Trump quickly responded harshly, calling the Pope weak and claiming the Vatican actually wants Iran to get a nuclear bomb. This sparked a very public back and forth, obviously. At the same time, the president shared a fake computer-generated picture, AI-generated picture online showing himself performing a medical miracle. This caused some religious voters to feel the image crossed a line and was inappropriate. Despite the disagreement, the president is standing firm on his strict warnings that Iran may not and will not have a nuclear bomb. For the first time since 1993, senior officials from Israel and Lebanon are holding direct talks in Washington. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is hosting the negotiations, aiming to secure a ceasefire, disarm Hezbollah, and guarantee the long-term security of Israel's northern border. However, new reports indicate that Israel has already rejected a Lebanon ceasefire during the discussions, casting doubt on the immediate success of the summit, of the meeting. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu scaled down strikes on Beirut before the meetings. However, Israeli forces still carried out an attack on a Lebanese border town just ahead of the negotiations. The State Department emphasized today that Israel's war is with Hezbollah and not the Lebanese state. However, the Lebanese government has virtually no influence over the terror group. Hezbollah has already rejected the negotiations, declaring it will not follow any agreement reached in the US and urged Beirut to cancel the meeting entirely. This push for peace is drawing global attention. French President Emmanuel Macron has been strongly criticized lately for how he handles Iran and Hezbollah. Today, he stepped in directly, calling both President Trump and the Iranian President Mossad Pezeshkian to urge them to restart their ceasefire talks. During the phone call, Macron insisted that any ceasefire agreement must include Lebanon and that the Strait of Hormuz must be reopened. In response, the Iranian president told Macron that Europe must step up and push Washington towards a diplomatic agreement. Fierce fighting continues on the ground in the Middle East, even as historic peace negotiations are about to begin. A widespread wave of Israeli drone and fighter jet strikes hit Lebanon overnight and into the morning, obviously, targeting the southern city of Tyre Nabatiyah, and the Bekaa Valley. Local officials now report at least 14 people were killed in the airstrikes and the drone strikes across southern Lebanon. Heavy battles are also underway in the southern stronghold of Bint Jabal, if I can't pronounce it right. Who cares, right? The IDF says now it is very close to capturing the Hezbollah stronghold. During the ground operations, the military also captured several Hezbollah terrorists alive. The military struck roughly 150 targets across Lebanon yesterday. The IDF also announced the death of a 30-year-old reservist. Sadly, Sergeant Major Ayal Uriel Bianco was killed in a military vehicle crash in the south. 3 other soldiers were injured in the same incident. Meanwhile, Hezbollah continues to launch rockets fire into northern of Israel. We don't know yet who it hit and what it hit, but hopefully nobody was injured there. Or worse. Let's talk about Protobyte. You know your business needs Protobyte, right? When you want to build yourself custom-made software, there's none other than Protobyte to do just that for you. Call them on 347-354-1237. They're very far from not understanding you. They're very close to understanding you. They can prepare a plan for you. You just have to say the name. What do? You make chocolates for a living. No problem. Call them, Protobyte, 347-354-1237, or you can WhatsApp them on this number, 02035356600. I know I said it to the English brothers there, but you can also call them from abroad on WhatsApp, just using the same details. All right, Proto-BYTE, check out what they can do for you, and they will prepare a plan for you. You won't have to say more. Israeli security forces stopped a massive smuggling attempt at the Samaria checkpoint. Guards discovered 68 Palestinian workers packed inside a garbage truck as they tried to enter Israel. The Israeli forces right away came and stopped the garbage truck, obviously, came to the back and opened up the back compartment of the garbage truck and discovered a whole crew of, like I said, 68 Palestinian workers trying to smuggle themselves in. And right away, they arrested them one by one, detained them one by one, obviously, to see what they wanted, what they are doing coming into Israel. Are they terrorists? Are they just trying to earn a living? Because we all know that the Gazans, Palestinians, have been working in Israel for a long time until October 7th happened. Anyway, a diplomatic summit between China and Spain has caused a new disagreement between countries, between Israel mainly and Europe. During the meetings, Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez made an aggressive statement. Is it Sánchez pronounced like that? Somebody tell me, please. Made aggressive statements against Israel, telling reporters that international law is being violated today, mostly by one country. Well, you guessed it, the government of Israel. President, Xi Jinping from China says that China agrees completely and supports Spain's views. Following these harsh comments from the summit, the relationship got even worse. Spain officially downgraded its diplomatic ties with Israel and permanently pulled its ambassador out of the country. In a separate but related diplomatic move, Italy announced it is cancelling its defense plans with the Israeli government. Israeli officials laughed off the move, stating that the cancellation will anyway end up, basically, in other words, hurting Italy much more than it hurts Israel. A major concert hall in Ireland has cancelled a fundraiser for Israel's ambulance service. The private event for Magen David Adom was scheduled at the National Concert Hall in the city of Dublin. The program was set to feature testimonies from the October 7th attack by Hamas, and the venue decided to drop the event entirely, causing a major public outcry. Former Israeli UN envoy Gilad Erdan and local MDA Magen David Adom head Alan Shatel strongly condemned the decision, warning that it adds to the growing global perception of Ireland as one of the most anti-Semitic countries in Europa. Here in the US, a white supremacist neo-Nazi has pleaded guilty to attempting to aid Hezbollah. The Tennessee man named Reagan Prater admitted in federal court to trying to provide the terror group with intelligence on Israeli officials living in the United States. He also pleaded guilty to an unrelated attack. He admitted he intentionally set fire to a Highlander Center, a historic civil rights facility in Tennessee, destroying decades of irreplaceable documents. Lawmakers in Kentucky just passed a new law protecting Jewish burial rights. The legislation deals with how states handle unclaimed Jewish bodies. Under the new rules, before authorities are allowed to cremate an unclaimed Jewish body, they are legally required to contact Chabad rabbi of the town to ensure a proper burial. The United States military killed 2 men in a new strike on a boat suspected of carrying drugs on the Eastern Pacific Ocean. This is the latest in a series of fatal boat strikes carried out by American forces, the Southern Command. It includes a separate, newly reported strike on a suspected drug vessel in the Caribbean that killed 4 terrorists. We call them narco-terrorists. These add to other recent strikes in the region that killed 5 people and left 1 survivor. Since September, the military has been launching continuous strikes on suspected smuggling vessels across both the Pacific and the Caribbean. With these newest attacks, the total death toll from these operations has now reached at least 170 narco-terrorists. Yesterday, we talked about President Trump speaking out against Pope Leo, right, the 14th. Now, Trump is facing strong criticism for those comments from European leaders too, and even from his own Senate Majority Leader, John Thune. While the politicians argue, the real threat of radical Islamic terror continues. Just as the Pope arrived in Algeria, Islamic terrorists carried out a horrific suicide bombing 2 people outside the Bilder province, outside a police headquarters. The terrorists blew themselves up, causing massive chaos and destruction in that area. A Republican congresswoman from Florida wants her party to pass a new immigration bill, arguing it will prove to Democrats that conservatives do not hold racist views, trying to be apologetic, and it hits in the face, obviously, right? Representative Maria Salazar is pushing the Dignidad Act, which would provide legal forgiveness and a path forward for undocumented migrants. The bill recently secured at least 35 bipartisan co-sponsors, but the proposal is triggering fierce pushback from the MAGA wing of the Republican Party's South Carolina Representative Ralph Norman publicly opposed it, calling the bill a hidden trick to grant legal status to a massive amount of people. The internal party dispute is escalating fast. Salazar is now openly clashing with conservative critics like Brandon Gill, while other commentators are attacking the entire proposal as a scam. The battle for control of the United States Congress is getting more intense ahead of the November elections, midterm elections, and a string of sudden resignations is changing the political map. Don't you remember the beginning of the year, or end of last year, we reported several Republicans that stepped down, and some of them died, and others, retired their position in Congress. Republicans are currently defending a very small majority in the House of Representatives, but things are shifting very quickly. Nearly 60 current lawmakers have already announced that they will not run for re-election. In major breaking news this week, 2 members of Congress announced they are resigning from their jobs entirely because of scandals. Democrat Eric Swalwell, like reported yesterday, from California, and Republican Tony Gonzalez from Texas both stated on Monday that they will step down. Dozens of former workers demanded Swalwell leave office, and he has now also cancelled his campaign to become the governor of California. On top of all those resignations, lawmakers are now pushing to expel 2 more representatives from Congress. Democrat Mrs. Sherfilus McCormick and Republican Corey Mills are both facing intense pressure to leave office over separate ethics and fraud allegations. With so many open seats, both political parties are pouring millions of dollars into highly contested areas, especially in districts with large Heimische Jewish communities. One of the biggest political fights in the country is happening right here in New York's 17th Congressional District, not far from me. The area covers, well, like I said, Rockland, Westchester, and also other areas, other counties around the area. Republican Congressman Mike Lawler is fighting to keep his seat. Political experts say he is one of the most vulnerable Republicans in the country right now. That is because he represents an area that voted heavily for Democrats in the last presidential election. Lawler won his last race largely thanks to a massive voter turnout from the Orthodox, Jewish, and Hasidic communities in Rockland County. He has been a strong supporter of the Jews, and of course of Israel. This past week, Lawler brought the U.S. Treasury Secretary to the Hudson Valley to discuss tax cuts for local families and small businesses. Now, national Democrats are making his seat a top target. There are currently 8 different Democratic candidates spending millions of dollars in a primary race, all hoping for the chance to defeat Lawler in November. The university where Charlie Kirk was assassinated is facing intense anger over its choice for a graduation speaker. Utah Valley University announced that author Sharon, someone, will deliver this year's commencement address and receive an honorary doctorate. This decision is obviously causing major backlash because of what McMahon wrote right after Kirk was killed on that exact campus. Shortly after the assassination, she made a post talking about the harm of Kirk's words that caused his death. McMahon is presented as a non-partisan author, but critics are now strongly criticizing her for condemning Kirk right after his death. The criticism has now expanded to the campus itself, with UVU students actively speaking out against the selection and calling the university's choice an insult. The head of United Airlines just brought a massive proposal directly to President Donald J. Trump. CEO Scott Kirby had a meeting with the president where he suggested merging United Airlines together with American Airlines to create the world's biggest airline. This means 2 major competitors would combine to become one single airline company. Right after the news of this meeting became public, the stock prices of both airlines went up, with American Airlines seeing its stock jump by 5%. Yesterday, we told you about a massive political upset in Europe. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban lost his election in a landslide after 16 years in power. Today, the winner, Peter Magyar, pronounced his name wrong yesterday anyway, is already making moves to take over the country by May 5th. Magyar is promising to clean up the government and fix relations with the rest of Europe. He also says he will look at changing the country's energy deals with Russia. He added that if Vladimir Putin calls, he will tell him to stop the killing. In a surprising move, he is set to speak on Hungary's state-run TV network, a channel he previously accused of spreading government lies. This change in leadership has massive political consequences across the globe. For Israel, for instance, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just lost one of his strongest political allies, Viktor Orban, in Europe. It is also a setback for conservatives here in the US. coming just days after Vice President J.D. Vance visited Hungary to show his support for Viktor Orban. And Trump, of course. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has announced a major first in the war against Russia by using AI and robots. He says Ukrainian forces captured an entire Russian area using only robots and machines without sending in a single human soldier. In another attack, the Ukrainian military sent drones deep inside Russia to hit a chemical plant in the Vologda region. Ukraine says the plant makes materials for deadly explosives used in the war. On the political front, leaders in Kiev are breathing a sigh of relief following Viktor Orban's defeat in Hungary. Officials in Germany hope this will quickly clear the way for a much-needed $105 billion loan to fund Ukraine's military. Finally, the war in the Middle East is pushing up oil prices, like I said before, and that could make everyday items more expensive in Ukraine. The head of Ukraine's central bank says prices are already going up, but they are working hard to bring inflation down to 5% over the next 3 years. That's Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has officially secured a majority in his government. This happened after his Liberal Party won 3 special elections on Monday. Following the victory, Carney stated that the results show Canadians trust his plan. Earlier projections only guessed he would win, but now the majority is official. With these results, the Liberal Party could stay in power in Canada until the year 2029. The government now has to deal with major ongoing issues, including answering why Canada's military defense is currently struggling. They're struggling. They say they need a whole new military in case of another conflict, which is obviously very, very imminent. As you can see, the world is shaking right now. The home of Sam Altman, like I said yesterday, the head of ChatGPT, the head of the AI intelligence company, well, double dilution, OpenAI, was attacked for the second time in 2 days, like I said yesterday. On Friday, police say a man threw homemade firebombs at the property. That man is 20-year-old Daniel Moreno Gama. He is officially charged with federal crimes, including attempted murder. Investigators say he traveled from Texas specifically to try and kill the OpenAI chief. While he was in custody, officials found him with a list of other artificial intelligence leaders. He recently published a lengthy online post arguing that artificial intelligence will cause the extinction, the end of humanity. Then, just 2 days later, violence struck again. Early Sunday morning, San Francisco police arrested a man and a woman after shots were fired near Altman's house. Police are still checking if the gunfire was aimed directly at the home. American immigration agents arrested Brazil's former top spy chief in the United States, Alexandria Ramagem, whatever his name is, was the head of Brazil's intelligence agency and also served as a congressman. The arrest by ICE agents ends a manhunt that lasted 6 months across the, 2 continents. This guy is a close ally of former Brazilian President Bolsonaro. I reported it many, many times. Brazil's Supreme Court found this guy guilty for his role in a 2022 coup attempt to stop the current president from taking office. He fled the country right before he was supposed to start his prison sentence. A massive storm called Super Typhoon is now hammering remote United States islands in the Pacific Ocean. This extremely dangerous typhoon has reached Guam and the northern Mariana Islands. Forecasters noted it was starting to lose some of its strength as it got closer to land. Baruch Hashem, I guess. But even with less power of the storm, it is still bringing very dangerous weather conditions to the area. In response to the storm's arrival, disaster relief group's obviously Team Rubicon has activated its emergency operations center to assist with the ongoing threat. A 5.7 magnitude earthquake, now more precisely measured to 5.68, hit northern Nevada in the area around Reno. The shaking started around 6:29 p.m. It shook rural parts of the state right near Carson City, and the reach was wide enough that the tremors were felt across parts of neighboring California. Reports say the earthquake caused some damage in the area. The exact center of the quake was less than 50 miles from Reno, about 11 miles southeast of the local town called Silver Springs. As you all know, President Trump brought a DoorDash delivery driver straight into the Oval Office. Yesterday, on Monday, he ordered 2 large bags of McDonald's food for lunch. The special delivery was set up to prove a point about taxes. Now, the driver is a woman from Arkansas named Mrs. Simmons. Simmons talked to the president about the huge tax refund she got this year. She explained exactly how his no tax on tips helped her very much thanks to the new law, she did not have to pay taxes on more than $11,000 in tips. After she dropped off the food, Trump tipped her with a $100 bill signed with his famous thick black marker. But her sudden fame has brought some unwanted attention. New reports from places like The Daily Beast are now publishing details about Simmons' past history. A passenger flight. I started the news with this. A passenger flight in Iceland is under police investigation after the pilot intentionally flew the massive airplane dangerously close to people's homes. The Boeing 757, operated by Icelandair, was flying from Frankfurt to obviously a town, to the airport in Iceland. As it passed over the island of whatever that island is, the plane dropped to just 328 feet above ground. That's very, very low. For those of you who know the power of a jet, just saying how much noise and how much, well, besides the noise, the power of the noise could cause damage, actually. Witnesses on the island said that the houses physically shook as the massive jet roared overhead. Reports say that the 65-year-old captain purposely dropped the plane over his own hometown to celebrate his final flight before retiring. Icelandair says they did not approve this dangerous stunt. The airline has officially reported the pilot to the police. Well, what a nice way to end his long years of being a pilot, right? By being arrested or whatever, or something like that. As safety experts warn, the move could have ended in a massive disaster for the passengers and the people on the ground. Let's talk about being a little bit clearer. Next time, this pilot should be a little bit clearer about what he's doing. Is he crazy or what? Anyway, I don't want to be, I would never want to be in such a flight. Even though he says, congratulations, just say congratulations and keep on flying regularly. Klieger. Za ein bisschen Klieger. Steist 845-335-3343. What's Klieger? Eliminate all those $100 subscriptions that you have per user, that you end up spending thousands of dollars for subscriptions on programs that don't do you any good anyway. They don't serve the purpose of your business, so you should call Klieger. They can set you up, communications all in one place: WhatsApp, email, Telegram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all the messaging systems and apps that you use to communicate with your businesses, with your customers, through one inbox, Klieger. And obviously, they have a CRM, Salesforce, and all that. Now you can go to Klieger.com, KLEEGR.com. YS Capital Group is obviously there for you when you need to borrow some money for an investment. YS Capital Group, 718-831-2168. My friends, well, it was my pleasure. Stay informed and stay on edge, and we'll see each other, Be'ez Hashem Yisborach, tomorrow.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.